Welcome y'all to In Pursuit, the show that is focused on the how and the why of pursuing the life and the world that we imagine for ourselves and for others. And we have an incredibly special guest here today. She is an entrepreneur. She is a media personality. She's been an educator. She started her own foundation, and you're still so young in your journey. Give it up for Kamey Gomez, everybody. Yes. Kamey, it is so great to have you on In Pursuit.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here.
And the first question we start with everybody on is, what keeps you in pursuit of the goals that you have for your life?
Honestly, my life, just my testimony, my story, where I come from, the people around me. I feel like I'm somebody that I really just keep that pressure on myself. And, I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, what are we doing today? It really is a me versus me, type of relationship. And I'm just not satisfied with, being complacent or being, in the same spot. I have a desire to always want to self-improve and evolve and move forward for myself and, for people around me and the generation after me. So
that's beautiful. So we're going to talk a lot about the projects that you have going on right now, because there are a lot of them and you're doing them at a high level. But I want to start at the beginnings of Kamey, right? And can you remember an experience that you had? Maybe it was as a young person, as a teenager, but an experience that really helped you to clarify some of the bigger goals and dreams that you have for yourself.
I honestly would say I've had so many experiences kind of just like throughout my teenage years that gave me glimpses of hope and showed me like what was possible for my life. But it was really when I got to college. I went to Syracuse University. I was a freshman there, and I had did some work with Facebook and Yale University. They flew me out to San Francisco to Facebook's headquarters, and I hosted an event for them for their Inspire Ed campaign. And that was a big moment for me because, I was going to school in Syracuse, randomly left like over the weekend to fly across the country to host an event at Facebook. And when I came back, there were auditions to interview Charlemagne the God. He's one of the obviously top media personalities, very influential just in culture alone. And I remember I did the audition. I got to the final round. It was me and another young lady. She was a senior. I was only a freshman at the time. And, her major was in broadcast journalism. So I was just like, I don't really think I'm going to get this, know? So I ended up getting it. And that was my first interview ever.
Wow.
And, Syracuse has thousands, over 10,000 students there. So when we did the interview, there's so many people, just in the crowd. And it was just perfect. Like after the interview, Charlemagne came up to me and he was just like, why aren't you interning at a radio station? And I just couldn't believe that somebody like him was seeing that in me. And from there, I was just like, this is what I really want to do. I've always known that I love to host events and to kind of show my personality and interact with people. But once I did that interview, I was like, this is it.
Wow. So what gave you that confidence to both do the event with Facebook and then to step into this interview and do so well with Charlemagne? Like, what gave you the confidence to do that? Had you had previous experience as a host? Mm-hmm. Had you had certain projects, in your high school years that allowed you to do that? Or where'd that confidence come from?
Yeah, so my freshman year of high school, I went on a public speaking tour called the My Shine Speaking Tour. And I was sharing spoken word poetry around the city, really trying to get young women to figure out what makes them shine. And, my spoken word poem was really just sharing my testimony and my story. So from there, I hosted, different like women empowerment summits, different events throughout the city that really made me feel like, okay, I'm capable of, engaging with the crowd, being on stage, performing and getting people to have a good time. So that gave me the confidence to, go over to Facebook in San Francisco and host that event. But really, doing this first interview of my life, I just felt like I had nothing to lose. I come from a background where I literally had nothing to lose. So kind of just taking that risk, taking that leap of faith and putting myself out there. I was just like, what's the worst that can happen?
Sure.
Growing up, when I was a child, I always loved to perform. Like, I would mimic Nicki Minaj and like have my whole family sit in the living room and just watch me like perform Roman's Revenge. Like I always wanted the platform to express myself and to perform and to connect with people. So this was something, when I didn't have any opportunities, any connections, any platform or audience, I was just doing it in my house. Me and one of my childhood friends, we would make like commercials in the bathroom, like for Dove deodorant. Like, we would watch America's Next Top Model and just try to, reenact like all of their poses and, just kind of being in the house, wanting to express ourselves that way. So much was going on. I'm from Harlem, so much was going on around me that I kind of just channeled my energy into creating, performing, having fun. And ultimately, it led me to so many other things.
Mm. And I'm hearing having people that support those endeavors, like having your family around that is watching you perform Nicki Minaj in front of them, right? But then having Charlemagne see something in you and say, hey, why aren't you in this space? Because I'm assuming he's saying you're really good at this, right? Like having other people that have that faith and belief in you, it seems like that goes a long way too.
No, definitely. That faith and belief in somebody before they even really see it in themselves or activate that fire within themselves, that's unmatched, and the people that really believed in me and encouraged me and supported me from day one, like I remember everybody, I remember all of those people, and they're just such a big part of my story, so anytime that I see somebody that I really believe in, or somebody that just has like amazing talent, amazing potential, I always make sure just to tell them, give them their flowers, because you never know how that little bit of support can keep somebody going.
So you have your own media personality company. You have been an educator. You've just done so many things at still a very young age, right? So how did you get going with all these different projects? And how do you keep them organized? Because you're still doing so many of them.
Yeah. Well, with my clothing line, I knew from when I was a child, I always loved clothes. I always wanted to be a designer, but I couldn't draw. I made my mom buy me a sewing machine, and I taught myself how to sew. I sewed like a pillowcase, and then I like shortly after gave up. But yeah, I always knew that I wanted to have a clothing line. So that was something that I started in 2021, and I just did it, really on a whim. And it's been sustaining itself since then. All of the other projects that I have going on really is just a matter of prioritizing and organizing my time. Like I have a ton of whiteboards in my house, and I have different whiteboards for different projects. So, right now we're in the giving season. So now I know I'm focusing on my foundation and giving back in the event that we have going on to serve 120 kids in the Bronx. So I know, I'll put my eggs more in that basket. My anniversary of when I launched my clothing line is also coming up on January 1st. So I know, after the holidays, I'll start pouring a little bit more into that. Really just a matter of, juggling everything. But I'm somebody that I'm interested in so many things. I have so many passions that to compromise any one of those feels like a disservice to me and, ultimately the world. So I just feel like I have to keep going with everything I have.
It's incredible to watch and really inspiring to watch. And you mentioned the interview you did with Charlemagne, right? So that's sort of having the beginning of at least your professional career as a media personality. But if we fast forward to now, right, just doing a quick scan of your Instagram, in the last couple months, you've had interviews with Kendrick Sampson, Dapper Dan, Styles P. Like these are people that are like really important to the culture.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, like, take us through how you got to that interview with Charlemagne to where you are now. What are the skills that you had to build? Like, what were the connections you had to make? Like, how did you make that move to somebody who's really got a media personality career on the up?
Mm-hmm. I mean, definitely one skill is really just, this sounds a little bit weird, but practicing your personality, practicing how you like to say things, practicing your flow, like what is your thing that kind of separates you from everybody else. And I think from Charlemagne to all of the interviews that I've done now, it's kind of been like a trial and error. But yeah, I would say that's one skill that has really, helped me. Also, something I pride myself in is just like the research portion of it. I religiously am watching interviews, and, I don't want to ask the same question that has been asked, a million and one times. So I'm always just thinking of different ways to, form the narrative and rewrite the story. And I think my main angle when it comes to interviewing is really just a conversation like how we're having now.
Yeah.
I think it really brings in that like humane aspect. And those are my favorite interviews to watch. So I try to incorporate that style into whoever I'm speaking to.
That's incredible. Yeah. So you mentioned like practicing your personality. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more about that. Like how do you go about doing that? How do you figure out who your personality is and how authentic it is and how related it is to who you are just as a person with your friends and family? Like, yeah, walk us through it and help young people specifically who maybe want to do this as a career or even as a hobby, right? Be a media personality, be a, social influencer. Like, how do they start to understand their niche or their personality?
Right. I mean, I thought when it came to hosting and being a media personality that I was thinking like of a news angle, like what's going on, everyone? You know what I mean? Like it was a very different dynamic than what felt like natural to me. And I think for me, it really is kind of just about going against the grain and breaking the rules. I think that's kind of how you find what your niche is. And what I mean by that is just like, not being super politically correct, not being super, cookie cutter and perfect. If you have an accent, that is your thing. If you're from the hood and you speak with a little bit of slang, that is your thing. If you talk with your hands and you're super like, loud and obnoxious like me, then that is your thing. So, really just finding out kind of like the different things that make you you. Like I also have a list, but that is my voice. That is what makes me me, and that's okay. So, kind of just figuring that out, doing different interviews, practicing all the time. And something that I do is just always watch myself, like I'll rewatch every single interview that I did. And I'm just like, kind of just nitpicking every single thing. Like, okay, I like how I said this. Okay, I like how, I looked at this person and then looked at the camera. Really just picking up the things that you like and then the things you want to change and implementing that into the next interview. There's certain interviews that I'd be like, I did that. That's who I am as a host, and that's how I want to represent moving forward.
What's one interview you've done that you're really proud of, that you said just that, like, I did that?
What's so crazy is this interview never came out. And I kind of hate when that happens. But, I guess it was just a moment in time that will live in my memory. But I did an interview. He is a Memphis rapper. His name is Don Tripp. And he's super dope. We just had such a deep intellectual conversation. And the energy was just unmatched. Like, sometimes with artists or just different people that you speak to, it's kind of hard to get underneath the surface, but he really opened up in that interview and, that was amazing. Another one that I really love as well, he's a 10-time Grammy nominated producer, songwriter. He's just amazing. His name is Rockstar. And, that interview was really great. But my favorite interviews are always the ones where people are like, oh, you did your research, or, oh, that was a really good question, or they're just so taken back by how the conversation is going. That kind of lets me know that I'm doing my job.
That's really powerful to find pride in when somebody else sees you did your research, right? And that shows up. That's really powerful.
No, absolutely. Because it really just shows, the hours of watching interviews and really just sitting down thinking of, okay, how can my personality mesh with this person's personality? And, how can we come together to create like a really powerful story? So anytime that anybody recognizes my work mid-interview, like that really just fuels me, even in the interview, I get even more excited.
There's so many gems you're dropping here for us today.
Oh, am I talking too much?
No. This is incredible. There's this one skill that I'm hearing you surface here, which is, you mentioned the interview, one of the ones you're the proudest of that never came out.
Yeah.
Right. You're also mentioning watching video back of yourself to like critique in a positive way. Right. And there's a skill embedded in there, I think, that is not taking things too personally.
Yeah.
And I wonder how you do that, right? Because you deeply care about all your work. Mm-hmm. And yet, like, in order to move forward, you're not taking those kind of things personally. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of double-sided when it comes to that because, any feedback or any mistake that I ever make, I take that as something to be applied for the next time. Anything that goes wrong, any mishaps, I'm a sponge. I'm just like collecting data, about everything, about the environment, about what I wore, about what I said, about, the interaction with the person. I'm never applying it to myself like, oh, something is wrong with me or, like I'm not qualified to do this. I'm just really taking this information and seeing, okay, with this information, how can I make now an informed decision for the next time? So yeah, but like you said, I'm super passionate about everything that I do, especially interviewing and hosting. And, a lot of artists feel very attached to what they create. And I kind of feel the same way. I'm very controlling when it comes to like what I have going on. I do take it personal sometimes when it doesn't go my way. But that never stops me from moving forward.
So what's next with all this work? Whether it's the foundation, being a media personality, what's next? What are the big goals? What are the projects you have coming up that you're excited about that you want to share with us?
I mean, ultimately, I definitely see myself and everything that I have going on as like my brand is the umbrella. Kamey Gomez is the brand and everything that I love kind of falls underneath that. So I really just plan going full force with everything, hosting, interviewing, my clothing line, getting that out there more, and also my foundation. That's my labor of love. I love to give back and serve in my community. So I really just see my brand being a worldwide, like global sensation, partnering with other brands whose mission that I really believe in, and ultimately inspiring. Like one of my favorite quotes is by Nipsey Hussle, and that is, the highest human act is to inspire. And, I've been inspired my entire life, which has led me up until this point. So it's now my job to use all of my passions, all of my talents and my skills and the gifts that God has given me to inspire the next generation or anybody that sees themselves in me or can identify with my story that comes from a place that lacks hope. Anybody really that just gets it out the mud day in and day out. I feel like that's what I stand for. That's what I'll always stand for, even, when I'm at the top. And I think that's just such an important message that really can transform so many people's lives, not even just the young, generation. And I really feel like that's my purpose on earth. So I just want to keep doing that.
That's beautiful. And the idea of you as brand, right, and also creating a brand is so powerful. And I think it's something that's really resonant for young people now, but also when we think about our professional world right now. So I'm wondering if you could either like summarize or read back to us, like what are the 3 to 5 values that the Kamey Gomez brand stand for?
I would definitely say integrity, relentlessness, and authenticity.
Love it.
Yeah.
Integrity, relentlessness, authenticity.
Yeah, definitely.
We can get on board with that brand, definitely. Kamey, as we come towards the end of In Pursuit here, our time with you, which has been so great, we like to have a little fun with it. We have a little sort of speed round, little game, if you will, called A Few of My Faves. So we have 10 cards here that have questions about your favorite things to get to know you a little bit better. So you ready to play A Few of My Faves?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Your favorite album from this year?
Just came out. Yeah, I already know. I'm a barb. It's Pink Friday 2 by Nicki Minaj.
Wow. You are tried and true to Nicki. I love it. Favorite place to be productive?
I'm such a coffee enthusiast. Any aesthetically pleasing coffee shop with a great lo-fi or jazz, instrumental playing in the back. And, great Wi-Fi as well. I'm there.
Maybe a little Nicki on the playlist too. Maybe drop in a little Nicki here.
Exactly.
There. Love it. Favorite thing about where you grew up?
Honestly, our swag. I'm from Harlem, and we just have this aura about us. Anytime I tell somebody I'm from Harlem, they always say, like, I knew it. So, humble brag.
I can verify that's true.
Stand up.
I know a few people from Harlem. It's like,
we just have like this essence to us. The way that we put stuff together, the way we carry ourselves is very like smooth, humble, but very swaggy and unique.
Yeah, smooth, swaggy, humble, unique.
Yes.
All the great adjectives. Favorite way to show love and gratitude?
I am a writer, so I love to write people letters, even when I can't really express myself, like through text. Like I'll write someone a letter, and then also I'm super affectionate. So to those, it is select.
Right.
But yeah, love to show affection, and I love to write people letters.
Beautiful. Favorite quality about yourself?
I really love about me that I stand on business.
I think we know that to be true after this interview. Favorite song from the 2000s?
OMG. This may be so cliche, but it's When I Grow Up by the Pussycat Doll. I am a Pussycat Doll.
You're one of the members. They just don't know it yet.
Exactly.
You're going to be on the reunion tour. I love it.
Exactly.
Favorite piece of advice that you've received?
Favorite piece of advice I've received is stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Favorite way to learn?
My favorite way to learn, interviews, and, just talking to people.
Favorite thing to do that doesn't cost money?
I love the water. So I would say like going to the pool, going to the beach. Just being around water, just being in nature.
Favorite daily habit?
Favorite daily habit is something new that I've been doing. And every morning I listen to classical French music. And it's been a game changer.
Wait, how did you come to that? Listening to classical French music in the morning. How did you come to that habit?
Honestly, my Alexa, she really just has a mind of her own. So I'm always playing just like instrumentals and just, like lo-fi or like jazz, different playlists to make me feel calm. And then one day this like classical French playlist came on and it's been my go-to ever since. Like it really just makes me feel like I'm in a Disney movie and like, the doves and like my little elves are like coming to like dress me and get me ready for the day. You should try it.
I think I'm going to.
You look like a Disney prince, Christian.
That is the nicest compliment I've gotten in 2023.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Oh my God. If you put on the classical French music, it'll change your
I'm going to
life.
feel like a prince.
Yes.
Well, now I got to do it.
Exactly.
Kamey, thank you so much for playing a few of my faves. Thank you for being here with us on In Pursuit. Before we leave, are there any final pieces of advice that you want to offer the young people out there?
I would definitely say, live for today. Do what you can today. Do what you can with what you have. Hope for tomorrow. Stay in that spirit of hope, inspiration, and have faith. and learn from yesterday. Use everything, every moment as a lesson to be applied moving forward, and stay humble, stay hungry, keep your foot on the gas.